One mystery that rarely talked about in the classroom of the elite is 1-year gap between White Room discontinuation and Ayanokoji entering the school. From Volume 7 First Year Arc, we know that Ayanokoji was placed in the hand of Atsuomi butler, Matsuo. However, what exactly he did for the whole year was never explained in detail. One thing that we know is just that there is a huge difference between Ayanokoji, who was not hesitant to leave Yuki in her traumatized state, and the Ayanokoji who tirelessly tried to talk to Horikita. There was only 1 year of time skip, but Ayanokoji feels like a completely different person. Maybe we will never get a volume dedicated to that one missing year, but let's try to guess what actually happened with Ayanokoji during 1 year without his father. If we are talking about external factors, the most simple reason why Ayanokoji in the first volume feels so different than Ayanokoji in Volume 0 is because the author had not yet come up with the Volume 0 idea when he first wrote Classroom of the Elite. Classroom of the Elite light novel was first published in May 2015, while Volume 0 was published in December 2022. There is more than 7-year gap between these two volumes, so the inconsistency is bound to happen. In one of his interviews, Kinugasa also stated that Ayanokoji is not supposed to be such a comedic and horny character in the early volume. But because Classroom of the Elite was still new, Kinugasa needed to put in a few comedy and fan service to make sure the readers would like it. It's only after the anime version of Ayanokoji gains popularity that Kinugasa decides to use the anime version in his writing. However, it seems Kinugasa already had quite a good idea about Ayanokoji background ever since the first volume. Even though there was no mention of a White Room, Ayanokoji being a genius with a lack of common knowledge has been one of his characteristics ever since the beginning. If Ayanokoji in the first volume was always supposed to be the same person as Ayanokoji in Volume 0, then the time he spent with Matsuo must be the reason why he changed so dramatically. There were at least 3 things that need to be noted about Ayanokoji from the first volume. First, he chose to hide his ability. Second, he desperately tries to make a friend. And third, he didn't know the normal price for instant cup noodles. According to Ayanokoji, he just wants to live away from trouble. He doesn't need a lot of friends, but 1 or 2 people to spend time with should be good enough for him. He wants to experience how it feels to be a normal person, something that he will never experience in the White Room. Ayanokoji's choice should be easy to explain. If he openly displays his ability, he will become a popular student, and it will be hard for him to observe how regular students act if he always becomes the center of attention. In my opinion, I think Ayanokoji was just tired of being observed. He always became the object of observation while he was in the White Room, so in high school he wanted to play the role of the observer. This might be the reason why Ayanokoji pays close attention to Horikita. Other than the fact they sit next to each other, Horikita is definitely a unique character to watch. As for the fact that Ayanokoji didn't know the usual price of instant cup noodles and other utensils, this could be a hint on how Ayanokoji was raised under Matsuo care. Instant cup noodles could be found easily in any mini-market, and if Ayanokoji didn't know their price, that means he never visited one before high school. In Volume 8 Second Year Arc, Ayanokoji also didn't know the use of plastic bags in the back of the seat, which indicates he didn't ride a bus that much. He also had a hard time communicating with others, so maybe he didn't have any friends in the neighborhood. However, Ayanokoji never showed any trouble using a smartphone, so he might have had one before. With those 4 facts combined, I think it's safe to assume that Ayanokoji never or rarely left Matsuo house during 1-year time skip. Maybe he was just wandering inside the house to avoid any suspicion from the neighbor. His only way to be connected with the outside is through smartphones, television, and the story from Matsuo. After full isolation in the White Room, Ayanokoji finally gets acquainted with the internet and media, and with that much information flooding his head, his curiosity must be triggered. Ayanokoji was 14 when he first left the White Room, and it's the perfect age for him to hit puberty. He finally learned about people on the outside, hearing 1 or 2 bits of comedy, and probably watching porn and jerking off for the first time. This curiosity finally led Ayanokoji to attend ANHS and learn about human relationships. We could see his curiosity in the form of his interest in movies, novels, and drawing. However, I don't think Ayanokoji's curiosity was strong enough to make him want to attend a high school. In the first place, he should have no idea about ANHS, and he has no one to talk about it other than Matsuo. From Volume 7 First Year Arc, We learn that Matsuo meets a tragic ending because he helps Ayanokoji to attend ANHS. However, in Volume 0 and Volume 8 second year arc, we learn that Ayanokoji enrollment at ANHS was part of Atsuomi plan, so Matsuo is probably still alive because he only does what Atsuomi orders him. It must be Matsuo who influenced Ayanokoji to be interested in high school by telling him a story about his son, Ichiro. Matsuo must be a really great manipulator if he manages to convince Ayanokoji to enroll in ANHS without Ayanokoji getting suspicious of his offer. Or maybe Ayanokoji doubting his offer, but still chose to enroll. There are a few suspicious monologues from Volume 0 about Ayanokoji's intention, with his last monologue with his father stood out the most. Ayanokoji hiding his true feeling from his father. He stated that Atsuomi doesn't need to know that Ayanokoji was sharpening his fang. Ayanokoji monologue implied that he has intention to disobey his father. He didn't know what kind of job his father had, or how strong Atsuomi actually is, but Ayanokoji doesn't plan to obey his father forever. Maybe, and just maybe, Ayanokoji already know that it was his father plan to send him to ANHS, and he play along because he also had some curiosity. However, Ayanokoji didn't want to let everything go as his father planned, so Ayanokoji decided to hide his real ability and just act like a normal teenager. It is as if Ayanokoji is playing tug-of-war against his father, but he keeps ending up in the losing position. It all started with Chabashiro threatening him and forcing him to help Class D in the special exam. After that, his father came and then sent Tsukishiro to force him to show his ability. And even after that, the White Room students wouldn't let him be in peace. No matter how Ayanokoji chose to act, he finally realized that he could not run from his father's grasp. No matter how genius he is still just a kid who doesn't know how vast the sea is. At the end, Ayanokoji chose to compromise. If he really cannot run from his father, at least he must walk in the path that he chose. Just like Manabu said, he should try to leave his presence in the minds of people who know him. If he could do that, at least his high school life would have some kind of meaning for him, and not just become a tool for his father. And right after Ayanokoji chose to face the school with his full power, Atsuomi stopped sending threats to him. Atsuomi clearly stated that he will not bother Ayanokoji until he graduates from high school, which could mean that whatever Ayanokoji is doing right now already aligns with Atsuomi's goal. It could be the bet with President Koenji, but I'm sure Atsuomi's goal is even bigger than that, and Ayanokoji already helped him in that plan. Of course, there is no strong evidence that could support this theory. This is just a speculation with assumption as the basis. Even Ayanokoji still wasn't sure what his father wanted from him or whether Matsuo was still alive or not. All we could do is just connect the dots and hope Kinugasa will confirm it in the future. One thing for sure is Ayanokoji from Volume 1 and Volume 0 is still the same person. Ayanokoji could act however he wants, but the real him on the inside never changed. After the first special exam, Ayanokoji slowly returned to his real personality. Cold, manipulative, and heartless persona that he got from the White Room can't be lost no matter how hard he wanted to become normal. After all, a person cannot change that easily, especially Ayanokoji. No matter how hard he tried, he will always found himself trapped inside the cage called the White Room.